if you want, or you can. I'll do the, well,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, we're gonna do the pre-service.
Introduce the prelude, and then I'm gonna go get Road.
Sure. Why don't we let it out, or is that
We're
later?
just not, we're just putting it up, because it's not, so I'm just having this symbolic.
Okay.
They're supposed to be lit, at dusk.
Where are that, Jamie?
Yeah, there you go.
And she sings the song, but has no idea what it means, but sings it. No, not that one. Let us now settle into a spirit of worship with a moment of quiet, to be followed by the music of Ola Yeo, a piece entitled Before Dawn, played by our music director, Matthew Johnson, on the piano. You are also invited at this time to light a silent candle of joy or sorrow. Our chalice lighting this morning are words written by Emma Lazarus, entitled The Feast of Lights. Kindle the taper like the steadfast star, ablaze on evening's forehead o'er the earth. Add each night a luster till afar, an eightfold splendor shine above the hearth. Clash, Israel, the cymbals, touch the lyre, blow the brass trumpet and harsh-tongued horn. Chant psalms of victory till the heart take fire. The Maccabean spirit leap forward. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester, a congregation of love, hope, and justice, inspiring people to take on the challenges of a changing world. My name is Barry Brigham, and I'm one of your worship associates this morning. We begin by acknowledging that in Worcester, Massachusetts, we work, learn, live, and worship on the seized ancestral homeland of the Nipmuc people, and who survive and remain active as the Nipmuc Nation. We offer a special welcome to those of you who are new or visiting us here for the first time this morning. We are very glad you're here. We hope that you will join us in Fellowship Hall following the service for refreshments and conversation. If you have questions or desire more information about this service or any of the ministries and programs of this congregation, please do not hesitate to ask. We invite you to fill out one of the cards found in the pews. These cards can be placed in the offering plate or given to one of the ushers or greeters this morning. For those of you joining us online this morning, we offer you a very special welcome. For safety purposes and so that we might come to know you better as you are able, please place your name on the video feed. Please take a moment to sign one of the attendance clipboards that are now being circulated, or maybe they already have been. Though you are not obligated to sign, we appreciate your information and will only use it for church purposes. During the service, we offer an opportunity to share a brief personal joy or sorrow. If you would like yours to be read aloud by the minister, please print it on an index card in the pew and drop it in the collection plate when it comes around. These cards will also be posted outside the minister's office to be shared with our friends at other services. For those online, you can place a joy or a sorrow in the chat, and we will read and share it during this time of the service. In the foyer, there are listening devices and large print service programs and hymnals for those who may find their assistance beneficial. Please see one of our ushers who will be pleased to assist you. I now invite you to turn your technology to worship mode. And finally, please note the announcements on the back of your program. Also, there will be time for short verbal announcements following the postlude. We're so glad you're here and hope that this morning is an opportunity for rest, reflection, and rejuvenation. Our opening words this morning are entitled, "Each Candle a Miracle" by Amanda Otis Kessler. We light the Hanukkah candles in wonder, joy, and gratitude. Each candle a miracle. When the Holy Temple was rededicated at the time of the Maccabean liberation battle, only 1 day's worth of oil remained, yet it burned for 8 days. So we light candles in remembrance. We rededicate ourselves to the miracle of light in a season of darkness, to the miracle of trust in a time of anxiety, to the miracle of hope in a time of despair, to the miracle of faith in a time of cynicism. We rededicate ourselves to the miracle of wholeness in a time of fracture, to the miracle of courage in a time of fear, to the miracle of resistance in a time of oppression, to the miracle of peace in a time of violence, and in a time of hatred, we rededicate ourselves to the miracle of love. I would ask that you would stand as you are able and join us in opening hymn number 219, "O Hear of My People."
mastery, or drives in us that war pursue. May these wings arm our names as blessings in the book of life. O source of peace, lead us to heal. O source of peace, lead us to come strive. Please be seated. I'd like to invite Anna Gregory to come forward with a quick announcement before we begin our Change for Change.
Hi, good morning. I'm Anna Gregory, and I just wanted to give a quick update about the auction as I'm going to be teaching after this. So an update about the craft fair and the auction. First, the craft fair raised $3,000. And at this moment, the auction has raised $5,350. So I'd like to also add there were no fewer than 36 people from this church who donated a service or item to the auction. So that really made it a success, and I thank everyone who donated and bidded. Our hottest items this year were yard work by Kim McCoy, and I think he's going to be busy. Knife sharpening by Sean Reynolds. I had to put up a second offering. Thank you, Sean. And the parking spot closest to the church is still actually up for grabs. It's at $22. If you want to have the closest parking spot to the church for 4 Sundays, then you can still bid. So thank you all. And lastly, you can bid till 12 p.m. It closes right at noon. There's still some things that are there to bid on. And if you want anything, after noon when you check, you can pick it up in Robin's office and also tomorrow at church. So thank you, everyone. And I'm so excited that we had such a great, prolific auction and craft fair. Thanks.
All right, a one-time dispensation. Take out your phones, right? Turn over your order of service. You see that little QR code? That's for the auction. If you have not yet bid, do so now. We come to that time in our service when those who are youngest among us come forward with their baskets of change for change. Those of you who are new with us, this is the weekly opportunity that those in our religious exploration program have to contribute to the ongoing ministry of the emergency fund of this congregation. If you have change you would like to offer, please raise your hand and one of our basket bearers will find you. We have Nancy Hancock and Sue Crosley to thank for our wonderful display of poinsettias this year. Once again, gracing this sanctuary with beauty and color for the holiday season. I want to invite Brian Sweeney to come forward at this time for our 8th principal moment this month.
Good morning, everyone. UUCW's 8th Principal Task Force aims to educate and inspire our community to incorporate anti-racist and anti-oppressive community commitments as part of our faith. The 8th Principal Moment is an opportunity to think more deeply about how racism and oppression manifest in our everyday lives and continue to hold such issues in the forefront of our hearts and minds. Growing up in America as a Black dude simply means I've experienced 8th Principal moments all throughout my life, far too many to attempt to recall. Just sitting here writing this, I am appreciating the massive toothache that I'm currently experiencing. Why, you ask? Because the constant throb means that I won't have to sit here and recall every ridiculously racist thing that's ever happened to me. Doing that is exhausting. Plus, who wants to live in the past? Just in case the past missed you, let me tell you, it sucked. But out of that suck arose hip hop in a genre local to me, go-go. Through music, Black folks were given voices to express what wasn't being talked about. But I'm not up here to talk about that either. See me later if you need some good titles. Today, I'm gonna talk about what brought me to live up here in the frozen north, about 3 miles from the edge of the flat earth. Of course, it was a job that attracted me originally, but I'll never forget the first time I got pulled over in Worcester. It was about 11 p.m. and I cut off a cop at a stoplight. I was driving my black BMW with my family in the car. Long story short, the officer gave me a warning, even though I was completely in the wrong. I told him that I will stay here forever if this is what mass calls policing. Oh, did I mention that my car had dead tags and my license was too? In Virginia or Maryland, it would have been a far different result. Now, that doesn't mean that Mass is without its jacked up racist ass towns and people, which is why I'm standing here in the first place. But I can't bring myself to focus on some fake liberal webcam Karen who thinks my son is a gang leader. Her opinion is what she's entitled to. Sure, I could go down there and give her a piece of my mind, but it would only be falling into the trap of her stereotypes as she cowers in pretend fear, while all the while imagining if what they say about Black men is true. I don't have time for that foolishness. Plus, she would have to pay me real money to find out. I ain't no charity. What's really important here is that the folks that I entrusted my kids to, the folks that we entrust all our children to, stood up for them and called them on their BS. And so Robin, you rock. I don't know if you're here today, but you rock. Bruce, I appreciate what you did bringing our kids to that event. And all the others that accompany our kids, they did what I expected. What's always missing and what causes 8th Principal events is conversation. It's not my job to point out to white folks that they treat others in a messed up fashion. If you know me at all, then you know that I'm also not here to make white folks comfortable with me and my Blackness. What's really necessary is that the folks recognize other folks' BS and call them on it. I should serve only as reference material. Hey, Brian, my good Black friend, was that some BS? My response, yes, my observant white friend, that was BS. Not long ago, white folks stopped talking to one another. They view others that look like them as others. Generally, it has a lot to do with class, but whatever the reason, is not healthy nor good for the country. I'm just saying, it would be nice if y'all folks work this thing out so that you can talk to one another again. I've had my conversation with my kid, and he will encounter more webcam Karens, that's hard for me to say, in the years to come. And hopefully he'll be equipped to handle them, or at worst have his gang to back him up. And if need be, I can always grab my hard hat, vest, boots, and Velcro jeans and go down there and address her real concern. Peace and love, everybody.
And he wants me to preach after that. There are sermons and there are sermons. Thank you very much, Brian. We come to that time in our service when we're given an opportunity to share what's symbolic of our own efforts and values, that which we are able to gift to the world in a way that makes a difference, that is part of the choice that we make. And so it is that we take up an offering each time that we are together. And the good news this week is that we have entered the holiday season. Yes, that is good news. We've entered it, and we are experiencing it, and we have provided opportunities and will continue to do so for this community to experience joy. Any of you who were here last weekend understand that this place just vibrated with all kinds of excitement. And so it is that kind of thing that I look most forward to, especially at this time of the year. Yeah, it's going to storm tonight. Well, it's New England. We'll get over it, right? But the reality is that we will attend to each other in a way that does away with the kind of thing that storms cause in us. Next week, Sunday morning, we will have our annual solstice service, that grand annual community radio play. And then in the afternoon at 4 p.m., we have a Vesper service that should just take the roof off this building. And if any of you came earlier today, you noticed that we have a choir that has swelled in numbers. This is incredible. And Nancy would be reminding me psychically, if not vocally, that our Vespers tea happens after that service, and that sign up is continuing for those to help set up staff and clean up from Vespers tea. So please do see her today, or do sign up online. This is all good news in a world that seems so bruised and hurting, where, as Brian reminds us, we continue to be at odds with each other. Cherish these moments when we remind each other not only of our common humanity, but of our capacity for joy. And so it is that we come together at times like this, and we take up an offering in service to that vision of a world that can be filled with joy, can move beyond those things that divide us, and provide safe space for all beings. And it is in service to that vision that we take up an offering today. If you would like to take up, participate in the offering digitally this morning, you're welcome to text 508-231-5335. At this time, the morning offering will be received. Would you please remain seated and join together in hymn number 252, found in your gray hymnals? 352. 352. Find a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true Now is the time in our service when we are given the opportunity to share what is deepest in our hearts or most profoundly on our minds or in the work of our hands in the days that have transpired or in prospect of the days to come. Joys and sorrows that touch us deeply and are given another measure of meaning because of our capacity to share them in the midst of a company that claims us as a co-journeyer. So I invite those of you who have joys or sorrows this day to come forward, speak briefly into the microphone, telling us first who you are so that those using our auditory enhancement devices might also participate in this important ritual, and then to light a candle if you so desire. Or if you would like me to read your joy and sorrow aloud, please bring it with you on an index card, and we'll make certain to do so. If you are online and would like to have a joy or sorrow shared at this time, please place it in the chat, preceded by the words, "Please read," so that we can find it quickly and share it accordingly. Are there joys or sorrows to be shared this day?
Just in time.
That was not planned.
I'm Linda Styla.
David Williams.
Andrea Cruz.
It was 32 years ago this Tuesday, December 12th, that we traveled to Guatemala and we met this precious addition to our family, Andrea. It's been a wonderful 32 years and more to come. It's also the celebration of Our Lady of Guadalupe, who's the Virgin, patron Virgin of Central America. It's actually a Christian overlay of the Aztec fertility goddess Tonitzin. So we celebrate our Gotcha Day, and Our Lady of Guadalupe at the same time. So see Andrea off with her kids this morning. We can wish her a happy Gotcha Day. Did you want to say something?
Are you done?
Well, I wanted to talk about Diane.
You can see it.
Also a sorrow. My cousin Diane died this past week. And I was able to yesterday meet with many of my 30 first cousins to celebrate her life. And it was very touching to remember her. And it also reminded me of the true blessing that I've experienced over the years in the fold of this wonderful extended family.
I don't know if you have something. Hi. I have something to add, talking about adoption. I work as an adoption social worker here in Worcester through Children's Friends. It is the best job I could possibly have. And this week, I've been present for the termination of rights of 4 different birth parents, sets of birth parents, which is really hard. But the last one that happened on Thursday, I was able to witness so much love and acceptance from the adoptive parents to the birth parents in court. The birth parents have to say on record for the judge that they understand that they're giving up their rights to their children. And that's probably the hardest thing any birth parent could have to go through. And the adoptive parents were there for that. And the birth mother allowed them to be in the room with everyone, with all the attorneys and social workers. And the adoptive mother got up and gave her the biggest hug. And then the adoptive father got up and gave both of them a hug. And they just stood there in emotion in the courtroom on record. And it was absolutely beautiful. And that's the connection that this adoptive family has been trying to work towards the past 2.5 years since they've had this child in their home, and will continue to have. And that doesn't always happen, but it was so beautiful to be part of that.
Paul, can you bring the mic down just a little bit?
Good morning. From one of our Facebook onlookers, Martha Crafts Keating writes, continued prayers from my friend Tom, who continues to recover at home, and for those who need shelter in these cold winter months. Thanks, Martha.
I'm going to light a candle for my dad, Melvin Adelson, who passed away on this day 19 years ago. He lived very well his last life, although he had pancreatic cancer. It was really amazing the amount of bravery and courage and how somebody could die of a wasting disease, but live so well. That last year really taught me an awful lot. And on the lighter side, there is the concern that not enough people will sign up despite Aaron's message. And I just want to take a load off of Nancy. I slept with Nancy on a youth group ski trip many years ago, and that's how I ended up
Too
on
much
the fellowship
information.
committee.
Way too much
I know.
information.
I know, but Nancy used to have to work every other Sunday in the emergency room and then couldn't be there for the fellowship tea. And this year she may have a conflict as well. So please, if you don't mind missing a little bit of the beginning of the service or a little bit of the end of the service, please sign up to help. And the finger foods means finger foods.
And we can wait for everyone to participate in the end of the service. Like, no one has to miss the end of the service, right?
You finally get your shot. Good morning, I'm Kim. I have the joy of being on the Refugee Task Force, and the family that there's like 7 families on the team. I'm tasked with one of the families, and I have the joy that we finally got a state ID for one of them, so now we can go forward with getting bank accounts, so she can get a job and she can cash her checks. And it was a long process. It took about a month. So it's really feeding my soul to help this family. I've fallen in love with this family, and I'm adopting them myself. So that's one of my joys. My other joy, some of you may know, I'm performing in a show. Today is the last performance of 7, and we've sold out 6 of the performances. So I'm getting a lot of joy out of that. It's bittersweet because I know my mom's watching me do this, And my daughter is also performing the same weekend, so it's been a little challenging with the rides and all, but we're all doing theater, and I know my mom is smiling on us for that. And my daughter's already got her next 2 shows lined up, so it's a lot of joy coming my way. Thank you.
My name is Wes Shepelek, and I just want to share a joy, and it's this community here, it's this church that I'm so happy to be a part of. Pastor Aaron and everybody here, it's just so such a welcoming place, and I just really enjoyed coming. Secondly, I just want to say that it's very challenging for me lately. I have a number of friends that are political opposites of me, and I am really trying to practice the virtue of silence and just not engaging because, you know, many folks just are not willing to have a civil conversation. So silence is my goal.
My name is Matt Bajun. I saw the show that Kim's daughter was in, and Sarah was fantastic. It was a joyful time. I'm here with a sorrow, though. My friend's 19-year-old son tragically passed away this week from what it sounds like a drug overdose. And the mother said, with a lack of surprise that this happened. I think it was feared, and it did happen. So I lit a candle for their son.
Let us be in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, source of our inner and outermost being, we come today in honor and memory of those who have gone before us, mindful this day of those who grieve deeply the loss of loved ones. Help us be mindful too of the precious nature of our relationships with each other and within community, especially in those moments when those relationships seem so mired in the stuff of this world. Help us remember the power we have to be present with each other in ways that make for more abundant life. We honor those this day who continue to seek health and wholeness. We're mindful this day of the anniversaries of our arriving, of our becoming. We remember this day the challenge of parenthood and the responsibility that we as a community have for all children. We would find this day the stillness within us to remember ourselves and each other back into this world. And there are so many ways that we can be distracted and despondent. And yet this season reminds us very clearly of the necessity that we have to create light, moments of illumination, possibilities afforded those who can tend to each other and to the world for the sake of everyone. Amen. And blessed be. Jewish mysticism describes the creation of the universe. It begins this way: before time existed, there was just the divine. And the divine's light filled the universe. There was no place that the divine did not exist. At some point, the divine decided to create a world. But the divine recognized that there was no place to build such a world because the divine's presence filled the universe. So the divine withdrew within itself away from a part of the universe, drawing its breath, and there would make a world. In withdrawing, a void was formed, dark and empty, and then the divine said, "Let there be light." The light entered the void and formed in succession 10 vessels filled with primordial light. Yet the vessels were not perfect. Unable to contain the divine's immense and overwhelming light, the 10 vessels shattered. Billions of holy sparks scattered about the great void like stars in heaven. And so the mystics say this is why humanity was created: to gather the holy sparks which have been scattered across creation and bring them into wholeness again. It's said that when all the sparks have been gathered, the primordial vessels will be restored and the world will finally be repaired. This is the messianic era that humanity so eagerly seeks. Therefore, it should be every person's greatest desire to lift these fallen holy sparks wherever they find them and to elevate them to holiness by being righteous. This is known as tikkun olam, repairing the world. It's said that when the repair nears completion, even the divine itself will assist in the final rebuilding and lifting of the sparks. I love this particular mystical, allegorical understanding of creation itself, and it speaks to me so powerfully of the way in which we as human beings need to remember how to be, especially in times that are so fraught with disagreement, with despair, with a sense of hopelessness, when we are so full of the world that we do not seem to have room for anything else. Does anyone here ever have that experience? So full of stuff, whatever that stuff is, that you can't take on one more thing, handle one more disagreement, take on one more task. Am I speaking to people who have no understanding of what I'm talking about? It was this week when I realized just how precious this story is. So full of the world. And so my wife said to me, "What's your schedule on Saturday?" That's a very perilous question. And I showed her that my schedule had nothing on it. I said, "My day is pretty free. I'm looking forward to it." But you see how that translates into my beloved's parlance is, "Oh, good. Then he can do things with me," which is not a bad translation. I just wish that it would be articulated more forthrightly, because the next day, when I'm sitting there coming home from some event, I said, "I'm going to go take a nap." She says, "No, you're not. You're going to go and sit down in the living room and wait till I get there." And I'm like, "Why?" And she said, "Because we're going out." I'm like, and she said, "You'll love it." And you see, as the editor of a local newspaper, it is her job on the weekends to go and take pictures of all manner of things in the towns that she covers. One of those things was to go to Princeton, to the senior center, and to go to the, I've forgotten the exact name of it, but it's essentially a craft fair. And I know why she takes me, because I'm the one who talks, right? I'm like, this is my wife. She's the editor of The Landmark. You should meet her, right? And I'm just her husband, which is good. And I listen very carefully to when she says, oh, I love that. And then I sneak around behind her and I grab it and I go to the counter beforehand and I'm like, this is a gift for the woman who's in the room. Please wrap it quickly, right? And then we went off to lunch and we came home and I realized in that moment when I got home how much better I felt for having done something that had nothing to do with my role as minister, had nothing really to do with responsibilities I had other than my responsibility to companion the person that I love most in the world. And for me, that is the essence of this particular mythical story. In order for creation to occur, in order for things to come into existence, in order to have a different kind of experience, one has to create room in oneself. The ability to create that room and to place nothing in it, because I am an expert at filling voids. They're all filled with books, but nonetheless, any kind of space that's created can easily be filled. The art of creation is to create sacred opportunities and not fill them with anything, but the love and anticipation that something wonderful can happen here. And so I listen to the Jewish mystics about the story of creation, and I come to this place where I realize this is not just about the creation of the universe, this is about the creative moment at any given moment in time. It is the fundamental lesson for all of us. How do you create space in yourself for growth, for newness, for joy, for opportunities you could not fathom and cannot plan? Moshe Miller describes the essential nature of the light that is described in the Jewish creation, the mystical creation myth. Adam Kadmon, the name given to the highest and most exalted of the worlds, described from the mystics, means in the likeness of or the image of. The Hebrew word is doma. Kadmon means primordial or primary, from the Hebrew root of kadam. So Adam Kadmon is the primordial world, which is in the likeness of the infinite light which preceded it and which was concealed in the process of creation. Oh my. The notion that in any of these moments when we create this void and we engage in the discipline of holy anticipation, holding that space open for whatever comes our way, we are actually engaging in the most sacred of creative acts. And Adam Kadmon mirrors the original infinite light itself. Thus, although the world of Adam Kadmon is a world, it is a level so sublime, pure, transcendent that it is almost imperceptible. It cleaves to and mirrors the original infinite light. That space is pregnant with the energy of possibility. But here's the other part of the myth that touches me deeply. And it has to do with the reason for existence itself of beings, including human beings. And that is, in order for there to be light, The original light needed to shatter. The Adam Kadmon was broken into billions of pieces. And our job, says the mystics, is to piece together all of the shards of that original sense of unity. I listen to you during joys and sorrows, and I can hear echoes of the desire for a different way of being that involves a different kind of understanding and unity with each other. And the frustration and trepidation that picking up those shards sometimes causes us to wince or be cut. But that in doing so, we have the ability to recreate a different way of being. I have had those experiences where silence seems the most important way to respond to anger and frustration, and the only response that I have ever had is to figure out a way to find out what gives that person joy instead of what gives them fuel for anger. And trying to be mindful of the fact that each of us has the capacity for joy, and when we can find that, maybe that shard of glass actually comes into being. So our responsibility individually is to pick up those shards, piece them together again, in order that we might recreate the world. In the Jewish Kabbalah, the world of the Adam Kadmon represents the transcendent will of the divine's desire for creation and how it is manifest in planning out one broad, all-encompassing overview without separation into specific details. This is called the primordial thought. The primordial thought functions as a blueprint for all of creation. Is it not interesting to anyone else that the primordial thought is dependent on the work of all of creation to pick up the shards, recreate in the moment pieces of that original sense of light and energy and love? The 16th century Kabbalist Rabbi Isaac Luria explained the myth of these shattered vessels, noting that the divine's presence, he said, filled the universe, and this presence was known as the Ein Sof, the endless. In order to create a finite world in an endless sea, the divine had to contract himself. This is known as the Tzimtzum Tzum, or contraction. Because of the divine's light was too powerful and overwhelming, it would destroy anything it touched. So that light had to be reduced by degrees. These are the vessels that contain the divine's light acting as filters. There are 10 of them, each with different properties, and they are known as the Sephiroth. I was thinking about this idea of the lights, the vessels that contained the lights acting as filters, and remembering last week that we were reviewing online for adult faith development the work of my friend and dearly departed colleague Forrest Church, who talks about the cathedral of the world. We have actually a video that was put together by Vicky Cox-Lanyon that describes this, and what Forrest talks about is that we pay attention in the cathedral of the world to the windows, all of the various windows where light shines through. And we contemplate the way that each of the windows refracts that light. And it would be a mistake to assume that any one of those windows is more perfect or refracts the light in such a spectacular way that it diminishes the power and potential of all of the other windows, which is his commentary on religion itself. And it ought to be our commentary on the world, actually. The notion that the rights of one community to exist somehow diminish the rights of other communities to coexist seems ridiculous to me. And I have to say, as one who contemplated how to talk about Hanukkah this year, it seems important to remember that the lights that exist on the menorah are lights that reflect the miracles that we heard earlier this morning when Barry did our opening words. Not just the miracles for the Jewish people, but the miracles for humankind. And on this Sunday that follows a week of such rancor related to the way in which our public discourse has gone, and college presidents being brought to task for not speaking about the tragedy of rhetoric that calls for the annihilation of anyone, it ought to be a moment for us on Sundays like this where we declare that this light illumines the human heart, not just the Jewish heart, or not just the Muslim heart or the Christian heart, but the human heart. Not so that we can do anything other than remember that we have that kind of unity within us. And that it ought to be important for any of us to be able to say without choking, the rhetoric of human annihilation does not belong in any of our public discourse. That all beings have the right to live. And that we ought to be about bringing about a world in which that can in fact be true, without feeling like we're going to lose our job because we feel that deeply. Rabbi Rick Jacobs, writing in 2016, turns to the essential meaning of the primordial light that is reflected in candles on the menorah, and its connection to the celebration of Hanukkah with words that are as important and perhaps more important today as they were 8 years ago. In 2016, he wrote this: "With so many ruptures in our civic culture, we must ensure that this season of triumph and celebration is also a time of reflection, determination, and action. A joining together to kindle light and create our own miracles. How can this holiday season restore our individual and collective souls?" he asks. For the answer, he says, we turn to light. Although Hanukkah begins during the darkest time of the year, it does not coincide with the winter solstice, Jacobs reminds us. The darkest day of the year. Since the solstice is tied only to the cycle of the sun, it is the shortest day of the year, but not necessarily the darkest. Hanukkah, like all Jewish holidays, is tied to the cycles of both the sun and the moon, as well as to the rotation of the earth around its own axis. Regardless of whether Hanukkah arrives early or late on our secular calendars, it always arrives at the end of the Hebrew month of Kislev, during the moon's waning phase. The darkest night of the year, therefore, occurs on the fifth night of Hanukkah, when no moon at all is visible to illuminate the long black night. The new moon is born as we light the sixth candle, bringing new light and new hope. Indeed, throughout history, Jews have kindled light as a shield against all darkness. Originally, Hanukkah developed as a response to those who refused to endure our differences. Love that. Hanukkah was developed by those who refused to endure our differences, as a response to those who refused to endure our differences. Repeatedly, the darkness of intoleration threatened to smother Jews and Judaism. This year, too, during a time of increasing darkness with communities pitted one against the other in fear and intolerance, we must fight to kindle light and take comfort in our ability to do so, says Jacobs. So the question for me in the midst of all of this is very simple. How shall we kindle our lights this year? How shall we collect the shards of creation itself and piece back a portion of the unity that we crave? How shall we be in the midst of this bruised and hurting world in a way that reflects the potential of creation itself? And where will you find yourself in the midst of this? Be clear. You are a part of creation, and you are a partner in it. So are we all. And the lights of the menorah and the lights of our chalice and the lights of our tree call us to remember that every day, especially this time of year. Amen? Amen. Would you please join together in our closing, or our litany number 629, found in your gray hymnals. We gather in the chill of the winter solstice, finding warmth from each other, nourishing hope where reason fails. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. Amen. Please join together in our closing hymn number 221, found in your gray hymnals, and rise in body or in spirit. Be children, with thanks that their light did not die. Light one candle for the pain they endured when their light to exist was denied. Light one candle for the sacrifice, justice and freedom demand. Light one candle for the wisdom to know when the peacemaker's time is at hand. Don't let the light go out. It rested for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears. Candle for strength that we need, never become our own foe. Light one candle for those who are suffering the pain of so long ago. Light one candle for all we believe in, that anger won't tear us apart. Light one candle for the Savior, please make the song in our heart. Don't let the light go out, yes, for so many years. My friend and colleague Kathleen McTeague writes, "May the light around us guide our footsteps and hold us fast to the best and most righteous that we seek. May the darkness around us nurture our dreams and give us rest so that we may give ourselves to the work of the world. Let us seek to remember the wholeness of our lives, the weaving of light and shadow in this great and astonishing dance in which we move. Amen. And blessed be. Please be seated. Thank you very much, Matt. Once again, beloved, worship in this place has come to an end, but our service continues next with refreshments and conversation. But first, are there any short announcements that need to be made? I have one, and mine is that Pauline Corshane, who could not be here today, has 4 more shoeboxes that can be claimed if someone this week wants to participate in the shoebox project. They can see me. I've got materials that I can give you. The shoeboxes, I believe, are due no later than next week on Sunday. So we have a week left. If you'd like to participate and haven't yet or want one more, please see me today and I'll make certain to get the material to you.
Hello, is that working? Yeah. Bonjour. So I'm actually substituting for Pauline today, picking up any shoe boxes that people want to drop off. So there'll be a table in Fellowship Hall where you can leave your shoe boxes and I'll make sure they get to the right place. But I also need to count the collection starting right now. So I'm looking for another person to sub in for about the first 10 minutes and sit there and just gather up. Thank you, Wes. Can you say bonjour? That's good. All right. So, see, Wes, if you want to drop your shoebox off right away, and in 10 minutes I'll be there and pick them up after that. Merci.
Merci, and the response is de rien. Let's eat.